Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 41 of the Immigration Lawyers Podcast, covering May 15th and May 22nd. It was another fun week. General news has been kind of slow this month in May, but a lot of interesting things have been happening. The president's out of town now, so hopefully things will cool down a little bit. But the focus of today's podcast is going to be a lot about how to think about the future and business, how the world's going to be. Without further ado, we'll get it started. Welcome to the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. I am the host, Attorney John Khosravi, and I practice U.S. immigration law exclusively. For more information about the program, please visit www.immigrationlawyerspodcast.com. Please note that this recording is informational only and does not constitute legal advice. Please consult with a licensed attorney for specific legal guidance that suits your case. Also, this recording is copyrighted and written permission is required for rebroadcasting. For more information about me, please visit www.jqqlaw.com. Well, the biggest thing that's been happening a lot, that's been coming to me in the news and anecdotally from people calling me into my office, has been people getting stopped at the airport and not permitted to enter the United States. The typical situation is this, although there's variations, but a boyfriend-girlfriend couple, one being a U.S. citizen, one being a foreign national, trying to enter the U.S., and then at the border not being permitted to enter. Thankfully, most of the time, they get permission to voluntarily withdraw admission by a CBP, but in rare cases, they get an expedited removal order or even go before an immigration court judge. Just happened again this weekend. I know it was on the news that an Australian woman was entering Hawaii with her boyfriend, and at the border was checked, her diary was checked, she was held for an hour, and eventually put on a plane and sent back to Australia. Now the person went online and bashed President Trump for this, but this is just regular CBP policy to not let people in this situation when they have a chance of entering the United States and staying here as a couple. Now, I have clients all the time, even married clients that come and go, one being a U.S. citizen spouse, one being a foreign one, married for a couple of years. They come and go eventually after one trip. They make the decision to stay here. So it's always surprising when they do that because I'm always worried if someone came with that fact pattern before the foreign national entered, I would be very afraid that CBP might stop you. But all the time people are doing this and coming in. It's kind of random when they're picked. It's just one of those luck of the draw kind of situations. So I tell clients, or just people in general, I'm probably going to do a video on this. If you're coming on a one-way ticket, you don't have funds to handle yourself here, you don't have work or ties to your home country, if a CBP officer sees you or talks to you about this, they could create a problem and not let you in the country. Another case that happened that called last week was a foreign engineer that was coming to the United States and answered all the questions wrong about what he's going to be doing here in the U.S., trying to find some work, how long he's going to stay, I don't know, however long I can, how he's going to afford living here, and all these kind of questions answered all wrong. Luckily, he was permitted to withdraw his admission, and hopefully we could get him some sort of other work visa or something like that. But this is one of those things, people don't think they need an immigration attorney or to do an immigration law analysis at these kind of events, at the entry, at the port for admission. But it's a big situation that creates a lot of problems for people that they should really be mindful of. Another thing that was in the news was a lawsuit by the Justice Department against the Northwest Immigration Rights Legal Clinic. This is a great clinic that's helped a lot of people. I think they were the people who sued on behalf of the TPS case that happened recently, but they help a lot of people. Now, the Justice Department wanted them to stop representing, and actually not representing, but helping people with their immigration cases, and kind of these clinics they have where people bring their cases there, they speak with attorneys, and then the attorneys don't actually take a hold of the case or put their name on it, but the clients go ahead and file on their own. Justice Department was saying this is wrong, kind of bring it in a notario kind of aspect of people practicing law but not putting themselves on the record for it. Now, this group was able to win. I think they have an injunction against this order right now. And I was happy to see that because the organization is definitely a stand-up organization that does a lot of good. But it does create some issues that we have to think about. Their states are passing laws so that unlawful practice of law, all that kind of stuff doesn't happen. But they kind of get hit by this. What they do is good, but at the same time, we have a lot of groups that don't, are trying to help immigrants, allegedly trying to help. They take money, give some advice. A lot of times it's not good, and the immigrant gets into trouble, but then they're off the hook because there's no responsibility for them. So how to design a law that won't affect good groups but affects the bad groups is going to be very hard. But to see the Justice Department policing it in a one-sided way like this is definitely one of those political type moves that's unfortunate. But makes it really difficult. How do you draw a line between what a legitimate group is, who isn't? Is it in the eye of the beholder? Definitely, this group is very legitimate, so they should have some sort of different standard, but that requires some very fine-tuned rulemaking to get it right. Now that moves on generally from the news that's been happening. There's a lot of just practice management stuff that I've been seeing that I wanted to talk about. First things first is it's an unfortunate case. I mean, fortunate for me, but unfortunate for the person. I have a new client that came in, and they were working with another attorney. I was a very good attorney, but they had to stop working with them and decided to, consult with other attorneys to see what else is out there, because the attorney staff wasn't communicating with them. They request, talking with the attorney, request appointments, this and that, and they weren't getting responses to their emails. And I know the attorney. The attorney is a great, top-notch AAA attorney. I would give my case to that person. But when you have staff not answering phone calls, not responding to emails, that's a terrible thing. It has all sorts of repercussions that I won't go into. But the simplest could be just leaving a bad review on one of these websites that people are doing this. So it's something that I'm afraid of. Is really, and one of the reasons I don't have staff is because how can I police them all the time? There's got to be better mechanisms that the attorneys in charge have, because you lose a client because an assistant not answering emails is such a ludicrous reason to lose a client. And also, if they did it to one person, they do it to multiple people. So that's ruining your reputation. Now, as an attorney, as you're busy with expanding the practice, the law, and all that kind of stuff, it's easy to lose track of this, especially if the assistant has developed trust. You trust them, you think they're going to do a good job. But it's something I think this should be just as primary as knowing the law is keeping on top of your employees to make sure they're doing their job right, checking their emails. Unfortunately, it goes to micromanaging a little, which is a terrible thing to do. But I guess you have to, because that's just that's a terrible case to be in. On the other side, on the positive aspect, I do a lot of networking. I met a one woman who specializes in finding tax credits for companies that do research and development. Now, this is really important if you're doing, business-based immigration cases, L1s, EB1Cs, because you're dealing with clients that are coming here and doing research and development. So I was able to meet this person, immediately connecting with one of my clients that does a lot of software research and R&D and development. And they could potentially save at least a few thousand to many, many thousands of dollars. So these are the kind of little things I like to do. It takes a lot of my time. I'm not going to get compensated for it directly, but at the end of the day, it makes me into, like a hotshot lawyer that knows a lot of people, and that's value in there. And most importantly, my clients love me because I'm just helping them out in different ways possible. That same client needed a bank loan. I personally, at no extra cost, contacted 25 different banks to find the one that could provide the best loan with the circumstances they're in. They're a great client, a continued client that's going to be with me for 5 years, a business client. So I don't need to make money on every single thing I do. I just want to help them and be part of their business and be someone that can help them succeed. And that has dividends that pay off in different ways. I know a lot of the banks. I know what banks want now. I learned about loans and banking, all this kind of stuff. I know about tax credits. So I can use it for clients in the future. And in our consultation, when I bring up that I could do all this stuff and I know all this stuff, it's going to create confidence in me to be the attorney, because it's not only immigration stuff I can handle, but I'm business minded and I appreciate what they need to be successful, and I could bring that for them. Now, one issue I've been thinking about, because I had a couple clients or potential clients contact me this week, is that they were doing their applications, their naturalization applications, their alien petitions for marriage cases and stuff, and they just want me to review what they did is right. And I just don't like doing that. I get asked that a lot. I'm sure all of you have that question come up frequently. I appreciate the fact that it's expensive to hire an attorney to do this process. So that definitely exists. But for me to do that, there's the general aspect of it diminishes from my work to just review some forms. But really, it's more than that. The forms are really just one aspect of an immigration case. There's so much more involved and it's just bigger than just the basic biographic information people are filling these things out with, that requires my full attention. I even need to know my clients and just know what their families and their lives to appreciate what kind of timelines they have or what they need to do, or the nuances that go into play that could create problems, or just practically speaking could allow us, by knowing that information, to adjust the case in a certain way that suits them best. but just looking over some basic forms is not the way to go. And also give a false sense of confidence in the petition from those people you're consulting, because they'll think, oh, the lawyer looked over the form, but I didn't mail it there, and they might mail it to the wrong place. I didn't write the check there. They might write the wrong number check there, write wrong amount, or make it out to the wrong person. They may miss a couple documents. Like this one case, the client, the plan was to submit I-130, get a Form I-797 receipt, and then file the adjustment of status for the spouse. And I said, why didn't you do that? They're like, well, I think we read it online. Now, I mean, that's why the immigration attorney, at least I guess the consult was good. They hadn't told me they were going to have me look at forms first. It just came in. It turned out that one of the spouses was an attorney, so out of respect, I went through it instead of just canceling the consultation. But they had all these ideas they got from the internet that were just like not right, and that was going to lead them the wrong way. I just know I had him sign off on a paper actually that said, I'm not advising you as to what's needed to be for your case. I'm just doing a basic review of the immigration process, so I won't be held liable. And I told him that too, because I'm like, I haven't reviewed your background. I'm not sure if this information is right. If you're going to say something that's extra, that's too bad. I haven't reviewed previous visa application documents or life history, all this kind of stuff, just to give him a real sense of what's going on. But at the same time, they didn't want to pay the money to hire an attorney to do that multi-hour research and talk that we need to. So I just did the basics that I could. But it's a difficult thing. But hey, if you should always get an attorney. It's like people I see here it I read the Daily Mail a lot. People call it a trashy tabloid, but I think Daily Mail is like the best news probably in the world. It's not fake news. They get it right most of the time. But I see stories of people who want plastic surgery, and obviously they can't afford to go plastic surgery to like a real doctor, so they go to some person's basement and they do these butt injections or lip injections, and then their lip falls off, their eyeball falls out, and they're just a hot mess. And I'm like, damn, like I appreciate you can't afford it, and you really want something, but do you really want to put your life into some person's like basement that doesn't have a medical license, doesn't have a nurse there, or have additional syringes so don't use the same one over and over again? It's kind of like the risks people take with their lives. It's amazing. It's mind-boggling. And I guess this next topic kind of goes side and side with that. So this is just philosophy of life and law, I guess. Not as much law, but one of the most exciting periods when I started my own firm was the initial consultation I had with clients. What had happened was when I first started my own firm, I was just anyone would call me I speak with all the time, and I was happy just to have a conversation. Someone wanted to hear what I have to say. But one time a lawyer contacted me. He had been referred by someone else, and he had this kind of complex case I didn't know the details about, which was they were bringing a foreign high school student here from abroad, one of their friends, and the kid wanted to go to high school, but they didn't want to pay private school fees. They want to figure out how to go to public school. And I didn't know what the immigration situation going to public school in the U.S. was. So I did the research. The child was actually going to private school, but they didn't want to pay for it anymore. They wanted to go to public school. And when I did the research, generally speaking, the law is like, can't just come directly to public school. If you're going to private, you could switch, I think, to public school for a year or so, but you can't do more than that. You have to pay the district for the fees involved, all that kind of stuff. So that was the rule. But it took me, I had to go research it, get books, and study it and to figure it out. So they had called me with the situation. I'm like, let me research it. Then the lawyer came in person. That was like a family lawyer that just knew another lawyer through one of these groups and found me. And at the end of the conversation, he's like, well, how much is your consultation fee? And I just looked at him like, oh, this guy's going to pay me for that? Okay. So I just sent a random number out. And I was amazed. He's like, wow, I'm getting paid for my time. Yeah, I was working for another firm beforehand. I would get paid a salary. But that direct correlation between the hour and the cash coming in was really exciting, and it really changed my mindset of appreciating like my time is valuable, like kind of research I could do, understanding I have is super valuable. And that flipped the switch in my mind over how I value my time. And this over the last 3 years has changed my perspective, and it helps me view the world in a different way. In that there's two types of people really. There's people who have a lot of extra time but don't have money, so they're down to waste time or do stuff that fills up time just to make that money. But then there's people who have the money, but time is the scarce resource that they can't give up. And so it makes them appreciate time much more, especially because life is limited. You get older, you get sick, you get too busy, you don't have as much of it. And that was about the starting point where I started to value my time more than the cash value of something like that if it falls within a certain range. And the goal was just to make that range bigger, really. But um, it was a very interesting change in thought, and now I see this. For example, people do a lot of busy work just to make a little bit of money. When I started my own firm, because I didn't have constant flow of money, there was these focus groups I would go to, which would say like, $150 to come talk about a camera for an hour. Well, that was $150 for an hour, but it'll take me like half an hour to get there and sign in, then half an hour to get back, and then just almost 2 hours of wasting time for $150. And at the time, I was like happy. I was like, oh, it's easy money. But now, like I saw on the email list for these focus groups, they'll send like $500 for 3 hours of this. I'm like, that's not worth my time because through that 3 hours, I could do so much other stuff. Frankly, I could just sleep and rest, which is something I need. And I found myself on the weekends just passing out all day, which is terrible. But there's just time becomes more valuable. But I guess if you're doing a high-paid job, that makes more sense. But that leads to the corollary to that is the bifurcation of society into more and more of the haves and have-nots. About in 2009, when I was graduating law school, when the credit bubble was happening, I'm in Los Angeles. I live in West Los Angeles. In 2009, if you're driving down like the Wilshire Corridor in the West Side, you would see more Bentleys, which is a high-end luxury car, than you would Hondas. Every other car I would see, not either two out of three cars I would see were above 50,000, maybe about 75,000 in West Los Angeles, which is insane. How many Mercedes and Bentleys and like luxury Ferraris, all these kind of things you would see, and it was amazing. And right now I'm looking for a new car. It's been a couple of years, at least on the old one's ending. I'm trying to get a new one. And so I've been paying attention to cars around me. I don't drive much anymore, and I'm not a car person, so I don't really pay attention to cars. But when I look around now, I rarely see, and this is West LA, high dollar area, other than the immediate area of where I live, as soon as I get out of Brentwood a little bit, most of the cars are pretty run down. This is something I noticed traveling America. LA is one of the few cities I would see where there's always new cars and always nice cars. Like I would go to, Atlanta, DC, and DC now is pretty rich, so you see more cars. But Seattle, San Francisco, Las Vegas, most of the cars are just regular cars, But constant luxury car in the West Side, higher end areas of Los Angeles is normal, but I'm not seeing that anymore. So it really hits me, like, although the economy sounds like it's good and the stock market's hitting the tops, we're seeing a huge bifurcation of society into haves and have-nots, and this is growing exponentially every day, just constant. And I don't think this is going to change. I think the writing's on the wall of American society, unless rapid revolutionary change happens, which has its own chaos associated with it, that we're going to turn into just any other country in the world where the elites are really ruling things, then they have their appendages, and they pretty much dominate the economic sphere of society, and the rest are just people have a lot of time. They're blowing that time doing menial tasks just to keep it going. At the same time, these tasks are being roboticized or machinized and taken out. And this is, the information technology, the information economy takes over of this because the physical doesn't really matter. It's what kind of information you have is where people dominate financially. And that's why lawyers' role, even if, they make, I-134s mechanized and stuff, because we deal with information, our jobs to a certain extent are secure. Some aspects are weeded out, but the more complicated legal creative stuff are always going to be there. And that's why we have a chance of being within the haves. Now, to talk about it like this is really sad, and I appreciate that. I wish it wasn't like this at all. Let me just my disclaimer. But the reality is I have no control over that. So if it's going to be between being a have and a have-not, I want to be part of the haves, just as anyone else beyond this. And then from that have position to help other people, which is part of why I do this video. I reveal a lot of the really private stuff of myself, about my business stuff, and to help other people who have the wherewithal to actually research it and come and listen to this and care about what they're doing to grow. The information is out there, and I'm trying to help people too. But when you're thinking about your practice and what you're going to be doing, really think about how am I going to be part of the haves in the next 5 years. By the time Trump's done, you already know what's going to be going on in this country. It's going to be that economy is going to go huge. So we already know in the next 3 years what's going to happen. Set yourself up to be independent, so not to be able to be affected by these changes, and keep yourself in that half box as much as possible. So be a producer, create content, create yourself, make yourself indispensable. Do every little thing you can so you're part of that group, so you don't fall behind. Being a have-not is a terrible place to be in. You're constantly stressed, you're going to be sick, you're doing jobs that do nothing for your brain and your body, just a matter of being a robot for the most part. And so, I mean, there's an aspect of fighting this from happening, but it's I think it's a bigger trend that individuals, even groups, could fight against. It's the technological sphere going forward. Unless we change our economic system, and I'm pro market capitalist, but that's not what we have right now. We have oligarchs running the situation, guys, and a democratic republic, and but to change that it's. And I look to Rome, and when Rome made the switch from a republic to oligarchy and the control of the few on top, there wasn't, Jesus came and they did that to him. So I don't think we really have much of a chance of changing that kind of stuff either. So getting way too deep in all this, but the point is, just do what you can to be independent, to have your own power base, financial base, to prevent yourself, your family, and those in your community that are close to you from becoming in the have-not group. And once you're in there, be the boss of your own crew and try to help other people up and to grow that. That's just the game plan I have, and that's why I'm really working within the immigration community so we could bring each other up, make sure we have each other's help information-wise and anything else. And also within my clientele, my book of clients, I'm constantly bringing people together. So I found an immigration attorney a job this week. I found that tax credit for one of my clients. I connected two of my clients that are both in the two different clients connected with two different former clients, so it's maybe four people helped that are in the same field, one in medicine and one in some other scientific field. So, oh no, actually in apparel. So they could connect with each other and do more business internationally as well, because they would never have met each other. And because I know the insides of their books and stuff, I know they're not joking around. They're not a fake successful person. They're really a successful person. And so putting these two together, I'm not making any money from it, but those two appreciate me and they know what kind of person I am, that I'll do this, and they always remember me. That's a really good position to be in. So I'm using this half position to bring people together and have them grow and help their families. And that's the place I want to be, and I want to continue. That's why I recommend doing yourself. That's the reason why I like being a one-on-one kind of immigration attorney rather than turning to a mill just doing numbers. Because when you're doing numbers, you're just seeing another person come and go. You're not really getting to know them on a deep level. And that's the kind of practice I want to have. And it's lucrative. You'll be good. It's just the way to go. Immigration is, all lawyers should be like this, but really immigration is one of those one-on-one practices that you could do on your own, and you can really be involved with your clients, get to know them on a personal level, and help them, and they'll help you, and just have a really close relationship. That's the way I would say to run your practice, and you could do really well financially and personally, and really be really happy with what you do. One shout out I want to do, I think the gentleman's name is Isaac G. He reached out, and I was really happy that he's listening to the show. Thanks so much. It's just such a pleasure to do this. I posted the podcast I did with my interview with attorney Peter Afrasiabi. I did it last week, but I finally got around to posting it on Sunday. But it's a fun one, and if I had time, I do an interview once a week, and I do legal analysis once a week, and all this kind of stuff, but it's not happening yet. Really, one reason I would like to have staff is so I could do that more. So that's potentially a way, something I'm going to do to get staff, just so I can do more videos. But it's really important my clients seeing this. Don't be like, hey, why isn't this guy getting my job done? What is he doing all these videos for? So I have to make sure clients come first, second, and third, and then it goes to further marketing. And it's been working out. I got a client that saw me on Instagram. I got my newsletter, a client that followed up. One thing I really recommend is, no matter what, have a newsletter for your office once a month that talks about generally what you've been doing, successes you've had, if you've been quoted in the news, if there's certain interesting things you wrote about. Do this, and frankly, I would like to have that. I subscribe to any immigration lawyer's newsletter that's out there because I'm interested in learning what they're doing and hear about them. Ideally, I wish every person I knew that was doing stuff in their lives had a monthly newsletter. Now, people have it on Facebook, kind of talking about what they do, but I'd like to see a newsletter that talks about interesting things they've done. If they did some sort of video, that they did this video. If they're a doctor, if they did this crazy surgery that was interesting, post that. I want to know about that. It's a good way to share. And frankly, because my clients are on my newsletter, I had a person that talked, a fantastic client, really top-notch client that I really like. I was just so excited. I had I had a couple bad interviews, consultations this week, and it was like really annoying. And then like you get a diamond like that, it's just like, wow, I'm so happy that I had to go through these consultations to get to this one person. Really cool guy. So and he's like, oh yeah, remember we talked 6 months ago on the phone real quickly, add him to my mail list, and then he's like, yeah, we get him once in a while. Now that I want to move ahead, I remembered you first and foremost. So it's time consuming to do it, so I do my own newsletter, and I've made it shorter to make less time. And I used to do all these, like all the news of immigration and all this kind of stuff, but I wasn't sure if people want to see that. So you have the visa bulletin in there. You have a copy of like a link to USCIS case processing time and stuff like that. Clients always want to see the visa bulletin because they don't really search themselves. Then I have stuff, these videos I do, a little tidbit about the news and law. If I'm quoted somewhere in the newspaper or radio or something, I put it in there. So I know what I'm doing. Also, all my family and friends and relatives and stuff are on there too, so they see what I'm doing, that I'm active. It keeps me in their mind. And if they don't like it, they can unsubscribe. If they don't like it, they cannot open it. Opening rates on mail is for legal industry, I think the average is 20%. I get like 30 to 33%, which is really high. So, but 2/3 don't open it, and that's fine too. Everyone doesn't need to open it, but I'll definitely recommend accumulating it. I have that mail list. It's a very powerful system. Now, it might take a year, 2 or 3 for it to pay off, but build it and build it and build it. And times come, like when that travel ban happened, I had this list of a bunch of people where I would like keep posted on what's happening in news, and they're really interested too. All of a sudden, my open rate for those was like 50%, because people were hearing the news and they didn't know who to trust, because news is terrible at explaining this stuff. So I was breaking it down for my clients. This is happening. If you like this, don't do this. Just whatever the situation was. So that's another thing. Yeah, do as much as you can on this kind of stuff. It takes time, but it's fun to it. It's got to be your personality too. I like doing this kind of outreach stuff. So if that's not your thing, maybe hire someone to do it. One thing I like to do is I like doing these kind of like having the ability to do social media and mail lists and stuff like that. But because my patience with actually doing it is limited, my newsletter is really ugly. And I was like, I need to get somebody to help me make this look nicer. That's what I'm going to do. Or on my Instagram page. Typically, Instagram people contacting me are like 12-year-old kids from Nigeria asking how they can get a green card. Real waste of time. But I did get one really, really good client this month from it. It's the whole family, actually. So it's like multiple people, really educated, like fine, outstanding citizens. I'm really excited about them. To another group of people that like I look as family almost. I'm so close to it. It was a really good consultation. But the thing is, they found me on Instagram and they saw my videos. On Instagram, it's annoying too because I have to go on my phone and post stuff on there. And I'm not a phone person. I hate texting and typing with my fingers. I like using a keyboard. But you just got to do it, and it pays off. And it's kind of fun. You see posting the picture of yourself, what you've been doing. Even for your own self, you go back a year and look, oh wow, last year I was doing this. Look where I am now. That's one of the main reasons I do Instagram. But I'm going off on tangents. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Immigration Lawyers Podcast. If you had any questions, comments, or anything, just email me at info@jqqlaw.com. That's info@jqqlaw.com. Let's see what else. There's a bunch of other stuff, but I'll just keep it at that. I'll be happy to hear from you. Thank you so much for everyone's listening. Up till next week, have a great week. Bye-bye.